Many American cities that defunded their police departments are now quietly refunding their budgets to counter a shocking rise in crime. Among them is Portland, the epicentre of riots last year, led by left-wing protesters known as Antifa. After police walked off the job in droves, the city has voted to increase police funding by $5 million and offer sign-on bonuses for new recruits as well. Sky News Washington correspondent Annelise Nielsen has this report from the state of Oregon.
I used to live in Mexico in some very difficult areas, and I felt safer there than we feel here in Portland today.
2 years ago, a movement took hold in the United States to defund the police.
We need to reimagine the way we are policed.
But what is the reality when the money is taken away?
I think some of this is intentional. They're like, oh, you don't want to defund the police? We're not going to do anything.
Portland, Oregon, tucked away in the northwest corner of the United States. Major corporations like Nike and Intel are based here, so executives can escape to the surrounding wilderness. But the city has seen regular turmoil since the murder of black man George Floyd sparked national outrage last year. There were 100 days of consecutive protests and riots here that prompted all 50 officers with the city's crowd control unit to resign. Downtown still bears the scars of almost 2 years of lawlessness. Tall metal barricades and security guards protecting the local Apple store are a lingering reminder of the property damage that's become common, as well as the ongoing threat of theft.
It's absolutely crazy to be able to see how quickly this city has gone into a decline.
Jim Rice owns the Field Bar in Portland. It's been robbed 3 times in the space of a month. Security cameras reveal the thief walk in and go straight up the stairs, finding the safe and taking $8,000 of cash with them. Here, a person can be seen during the second break-in, ransacking the cash register and stealing the iPads used to take orders. It's a similar sweep the third time around.
Have you considered leaving?
Multiple times in the last 6 months. In fact, our original plan was to be able to put in 3 businesses here in Portland, relatively close to each other. And we have our one business here, but now we've made decisions to make investments into other businesses outside of the Portland area, because Portland is just too risky today.
Jim says they have no idea if it's even the same person each time, and police aren't following up.
They're struggling just to be able to complete the reports in order for us to be able to go to our insurance company, but not actually be able to figure out who's doing it. They're trying, don't get me wrong. I mean, they got some really good people that I've been talking with, but I'm just one issue. When I'm talking to them, sometimes there's as many as 14 people behind them. After they get done talking to me, I think it's pretty clear that the defund the police movement has been a failure.
Almost as soon as Jim says this, there's dissent in the bar.
When people say defund the police, it is like the worst slogan, because that's not what we mean. We just mean a reallocation of funds towards more impactful social health.
That's despite Benny and his partner Melanie having just had their truck stolen.
We got the response that we expected whenever we called the police and said, hey, our truck was stolen. We didn't expect much help.
Although he too complains about response times.
I would rather them at least take the police report and at least address our concerns, whether or not they're physically or able to. Like, maybe they're never able to find the truck. That's outside of their scope. That's fine. But at least do the bare minimum and take our report.
Defund the police to me is hard because I'm a firm believer in we need somebody to intervene during crime. I don't want citizens walking around as vigilantes, right? That's dangerous.
Lionel Irving is a former gang member. He spent 15 years behind bars for murder and has now dedicated his life to tackling gang violence. We've met up at a small memorial where a young man was shot dead in a seemingly random shooting. The city funds his program where he attends shootings and talks any witnesses out of taking the law into their own hands in retaliation.
Probably about 40.
Wow.
In the last I said about 8 or 9 months.
In the last 9 months?
Yeah.
Not even your entire life?
Yeah. No, my entire life?
Yeah.
Oh, hundreds. I've been involved in them. I've been a victim of them, right? And I've been there when my friends were shot. My first friend got killed when he was 13. And so that started me on the path of gang violence, gun violence.
We went along with Lionel as he did some of his outreach, where we met Elijah Ford, who's recovering after recently being shot.
Where did the bullets hit you?
I got shot 3 times right here in my femur. Got shot right here 2 times in my abdomen.
Is that scar from the shooting?
Yeah, and then I got shot 5 times in my back.
A former criminal himself, Lionel's helping Elijah get back on his feet. He too thinks the city needs more police.
Well, I never really had a problem with the gang task force that they defunded. I think they should bring them back. You know, I don't know, it got worse after they defunded the police, you know, because they wasn't making no stops on the cars. Then the COVID came along, so it was like, but I don't think they should have did it.
So much of the media coverage of Portland focuses on the riots and the protests. The violence is real, as is Antifa. But what's often not shown is the significant, deep-seated social issues that remain once the protesters leave, the most obvious of which are the homeless camps, which are littered across the city.
Reliable statistics for the city's homeless are hard to come by. The Department of Housing and Urban Development estimates there are around 15,000 homeless people in Oregon, mostly clustered here in Portland. The sheer number of tents speaks for themselves. And the homeless tents aren't just under highway underpasses, they're scattered all through downtown as well.
I don't personally, but lots of people out here shoot hard drugs. And then, we're sleeping on the street, there's a pandemic happening, and people have MRSA, they have staph infections.
Most people agree in Portland something has to give. But not everyone agrees that means the police need more funding.
I'd rather be on my own than just having unarmed black men getting murdered in the streets constantly. There's always that one.
Annelise, Nielsen, Sky News, Portland, Oregon.